Hello, and my guest today on a glass of cava, which should have been a cup of coffee at this time of the day, but we've changed it because after 5 years, I've gotten a little bit tired. But my guest today is a very special friend. We go back many years, an American, a well-known actor, screen, stage, writer, author, wonderful photographer, and his works spans Broadway, New York, UK, but we best know him for a wonderful television program that he did for many, many years, Dempsey and Makepeace. He was the brash American that came to the UK and worked alongside a very lovely lady, Glynis Barber. But this today, we have got my friend, and I'm very proud to say, to call him my friend, Michael Brandon. Hello, Michael, and welcome.
I'm very well, Sandy. Thank you. Nice to see you again after so many years.
My goodness, we go back to 1986 when you walked into the Royal Garden Hotel. Do you remember?
I was 12 with my balloon, right?
You certainly were. You had the smile on your face, the wit, the warmth, and you have still got it all these years. And you came in, we became friends, and then you were very kind to me in 1987. And that
You were ill.
You are so right. Your memory is brilliant, and that's why you've written such an incredible book. I was in the Wellington Hospital. I'd been there nearly 5 months, and I was waiting to have my fifth spine operation. And you had your photographic exhibition that was going to be.
You had quite a rough time.
Yeah, for the Princess Trust. And you said, Andy, come. And I said, I can't, I want to, but I am lying in the Wellington Hospital. And you said, I'll send a limousine for you. And that's what you did. And the Wellington, the matron, let one of the sisters loan me some clothes, put me in a wheelchair. The only thing that I wore that was mine were my diamond earrings and my watch. The rest was borrowed clothes. And there I was sitting in the wheelchair, but I can't remember which club it was. Was it Ronnie's?
I think it was the St. James Club.
St. James Club. That's exactly.
And, you know, you hear these stories back over the years. So much was going on. I was obviously working on this series at that time and putting together a photographic exhibition for Prince Charles for the Princess Trust. I wanted to put something back in because I felt the English had been very kind to me and accepting me, and the show was huge success. So that's how that came about. And well, yeah, I feel good that I did that for you. That's very nice. That's a very friendly thing.
It's
So
something I've never ever forgotten. And you know, in your book, which is That's All I'm Saying, which we're going to be talking about in 2 minutes, Linda LaPlante, who's this wonderful author and a friend of yours, has put something in which has really gone into my heart. And it reads, your depth of genuine kindness to others make to me deeply thankful for being able to say to you face to face, thank you, Michael Brandon, for taking me out of the Wellington Hospital, giving me a little bit of showbiz and something I will never, ever forget. But that's how you are in your life.
gratitude. Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you. And thank you, Linda LaPlante, for putting it in your book. And I don't know what happened with your book because a friend was coming down to Spain and I said to him, please buy me Michael Brandon's book. That's all I'm saying. And he called me back and he said, I've tried
That's all I'm saying.
I've tried everywhere and nowhere can I get the book. It's all sold out.
Okay,
So,
yes. That happened, and that happened because my publisher didn't anticipate that there would be a big buy. I did Loose Women, to advertise the book, and that was to announce the book that it was coming out. Within that week from that television reveal, it was a bestseller on Amazon. So now I'm getting emails. There it is from friends, people saying, can't get the hardcover, want the hardcover. They weren't ordered enough. They are now ordered and being sent to, I think it's called Gardner's. That's the holding house for all the bookstores, Waterston's and Amazon. From there, from the printer, they go to there, and then they are shipped out uh, to fulfill the orders. But it did catch up. She had never done a celebrity autobiography. So these so she wasn't used to what happens with the power of television and press and interviews and radio and here you are. I'm talking to Spain.
You're talking
Oh,
worldwide because this goes
I've got a
all
book
over the world.
somewhere. Look, all I got here, I even had I got a demo copy. I mean, it's like yeah, so the book is
So
good. The book is good. The
it's
orders will
really
they be filled?
brilliant. Not
Yes,
good. I
thank you.
couldn't put it down. So I phoned my bookstore here and I said, please, would you order the book for me? And she came back and she said, there's a 5-week wait. I said, I don't care how long. Just let me know when it comes in. So
Wow.
she phoned me and she said, Sandy, the book is in. And I said, I'm on my way. Don't sell it to anybody else because I've waited all this time. And Michael, I couldn't put it down. I thought I knew quite a bit about you after the times that we lunched and whatever. I knew diddly squat about you.
Hmm.
And
That's what Linda LaPlante said in the forward. She was so kind to do that for me. She's my one of my best friends and a great writer. She's just got the book of the month right now. Um, anyway, she wrote, "You think you know Michael Brandon, but you don't." And I'm telling this at my birthday party. She said to my intimate friends, "You don't." You don't. Maybe you, and she pointed to this one guy who went to school with me. She said, you knew him before. But everyone else here is from England or English or whatever, but they only knew him since Dempsey and Makepeace. And what we have here is a whole life that is fascinating that led to Dempsey and Makepeace. And that's what I wanted to do with the book. It was going back in time for me, not to, or some of very unpleasant places, but how I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, what it was like, and the beginnings of looking for something, looking for me, looking for a way, a path. I didn't know I was lost, and I spent one evening. It was a blind date, and I had just, like you, I had a back operation and I was with a cane teaching myself to walk. I met her in the A&E, right at the hospital. And I think she was attracted to the limp, to tell you the truth. And we were sitting there and I poured out my heart as you do to a stranger. And I told her I was lost and I was going to law school at night. It was terrible. And I was working for gangsters during the day. And I didn't know what to do. And she was hysterical. And I said, what's so funny? And she said, you are. You should be a comedian or an actor. And it was like, "Wah, wah, 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 wah." I said, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I want to be. How do you be that? I'd never even seen a play. So from that blind date, thank you, Rita Steph. I never saw her again. I'm sorry, but it led me on a new path. And that to anybody who, really is unhappy in their life or something, you can change it. You can change your life. You just do it. You just explore. You look out. Grace meets you halfway. And it was like I met people of like sort and desire and loneliness or whatever. Sensitivities were okay. And then I was on the path.
How old were
Sorry, I
you
went off on
then?
a tangent. That's what I could have called the book Tangents, but
No, no, no. That's all I'm saying is very good for me. How
that's all I'm
old were
saying.
you when you met this lady?
Oh, I was
Ish.
probably 19. Uh,
Because in
yeah,
your
18 or
book,
19. Yeah.
you went
It,
at 8 years old. You really enjoyed the movies.
oh, I did because you see, it was my fantasy life. It was I had imagination. I used to ride around. We in Queens. We lived in a development. Ugly double two-story brick things. Looked like a Roman uh, compound. From the ancient times. With grass center in the middle, but no grass. And I used to ride around on a pretend horse, smacking my bottom as I rode. Pretending I was a cowboy in the Old West. I used to saddle up my horse, put the reins on, get up. I even picture out what color it was. It was whether Palomino or an Appaloosa, but it was the movies. And I used to go to the movies, and my mother used to have to come get me out because I'd be seeing me at double features, watching it again. They had cartoons then, and I wish he had. The one night I saw War of the Worlds twice. I was terrified walking home in the dark. Those creatures squiggling out from their saucer. But um, yeah, and I always wanted more. I wanted what I couldn't have, and yeah, so that led me to that. I watched TV, I watched um, series, a lot of existential stuff. It was like to to get outside of my life and look at a life I would love to have or be in. So, yeah, I never thought to take acting lessons or to go to see a play or join any groups in school. I was kind of a loner. Um, but then um, that led me to, well, she told me, I said, how do you become an actor? And that Rita said, you go to a school. She had been a model and she was on a book called How to Marry a Harvard Man. And that was it. So she was the most famous person I'd met. Anyway, yeah. So I wrote down a couple of those schools, and while I was working for the gangsters during the day, they gave me a brand new Cadillac to deliver these envelopes. Don't ask. Anyway, I drove by the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and I sat opposite from the car, just looking at it, and said, "It's now or never. Do it." I got up and I walked in, and I'm standing there, and I look around. There's this desk, and I see a door, and it said admissions, Bryn Morgan. And I walked in. And this guy's there at his desk, and he looks up. He said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I want to join up." He said, "This is not the army." I said, "No, I want to be, so I want to join up." He said, "And who are you? And do you have an appointment?" I said, "No." He said, "Okay, the way it works is you apply, we send you an application, you fill out the application, tell us everything you've done." I said, "I haven't done anything. There's nothing to fill out." I said, I've never seen a play. I know I could do this. You know. I said, "Yeah, I know." He said, "Well, look, you have to do this. And then if you're accepted, we will apply to you and you can come in and audition." Audition. Yeah, you come in, you do a scene. Here's a book of scenes. You could look through it. I said, "Wait a second, let me get this straight. You're asking me to act before you've taught me how." He said, "Well, what we're looking for is a spark. We will see." I said, "I got the spark. I got the spark." I said, "Just give me how much?" He said, "The tuition is discussed after your acceptance, after your audition." I said, "I'll double it now, cash. Skip the audition." He said, "That came from the gangsters, right?" So he says, "You're trying to bribe me?" He said, that's not going to work. Okay. So there's an application, there's a book of scenes every Wednesday after 3, we audition. Good day. And I walk out back to the caddy, and I was not satisfied. It was a very short career. Anyway, I saw a bookstore down the street, Madison Avenue. I walked down and went in, and I saw a copy of Hamlet. Hamlet. I've heard of that. That's acting, right? So I sat there flipping through until I found the speech, to be or not to be. So I sat down in the car, and in an hour, I thought I'd memorized it. Well, the gist, right? Without having, I had no clue what it was saying. I didn't understand a word, except, well, there was one phrase, which I thought I had an idea about. And so I realized it's after 3 and it's Wednesday. So I walked back in, and now the room is full with all these people in costumes. I didn't think of that. I was in a 3-piece suit working for the goons. So I walk up to the desk. She says, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm here for my audition." "Oh, what's your name?" "Name, gotta have a right name, acting name. My favorite actor's Brando and Brando, Michael Brandon." And she said, "I don't see it here. I'm sorry, but look again, please. I came in, I took 2 trains to get in. I took a day off work. This is the beginning of my new life. And please," she goes, "person comes out of a door behind and like a pilgrim, right?" And she says, "Go right in." I said, "Go right in. Go." See, my first acting, it worked. So I walk in, and there's this big panel. Now I'm going off on a story here. Do you want me to? This is in the book. If you want to read it, I mean,
I
it's
have
like
read it. I love it. I love it. But you are telling the world about it. And I want the world to be buying this book because it is absolute magic. I want to
it's
go back to various other things. First of all, you've got chutzpah and humor. If you didn't have that, and I can't say what that is,
well,
uh,
there's another word. There was another word back in New York. We called it moxie.
uh,
Remember that word? There's an old word. That was an old gangster word. Moxie was the same as chutzpah.
and you
You
had
know,
it, and it's opened the world for you. It's opened your life for you, but you still go back to being a country boy because you spent a lot of your time in the States living in the country with horses. So when you were playing, when you were a little boy and you were hitting your tush because you were on your horse and you were sorting the horse out, it was already in your head, as far as I can see. You
well,
were the country
in
boy.
the time sequence of things, I was in Concrete City. I was a city boy. I played in dirt lots, building sites, with piles of gravel and sand. Um, the horses in my life came much later. I was already an actor, and I had done a movie with Tony Curtis and Kim Novak. Peter Medoc, who did The Ruling Class, directed that. And it's called Third Girl from the Left by Dory Previn. And I met this woman. She was a bit older than me, much more experienced, a big star from the 50s and on, Kim Novak. And it happened. We just between us, no acting. We fell in love. So I showed her New York. I took her on her first subway line to the Village. We went for John's Pizza, brick oven. Anyway, she said, "Look, you showed me the city. Now I'll show you my life." So when the filming in New York stopped, we then moved back to California to MGM, where all the sets were in California. We'd done the exteriors in New York. And so something came up. Wait, mm, not now. I'm trying to stay with you. Get that off my screen. Okay, we're back. So, um, yeah, so I flew out to California and I took a little plane to Carmel. She picked me up at the airport and took me to what then was a house castle on a cliff. The waves were below, but she was building a ranch. She had all the plans and took me to see her horses, which were bored in the Carmel Valley at the time. And over the next year, that house, that ranch was built. And Kim and I put in the posts for the corrals and, it was, and I learned, I became a Brooklyn cowboy. I lived on a horse. And from her, I then drove south to Hollywood to do a job, and I found a ranch for myself. And I rented this 40-acre ranch from an incredible woman, a country woman named Annie Chamberlain. And the lines in her face were like an old map. She earned it. She was born in that ranch house up on top of that mountain. And yes, and then I stayed there for years, and I would go down to film and come back up. And it, you see, life is is an unwritten story. You're just going forth, and you don't know what's going to happen. You're just open to everything, and you take that next experience and you incorporate it, and you go on, and and you don't lose if you don't lose the lesson. So everything counts.
Everything, there is a reason for everything. And what I'm getting at is, even though you only became a ranch man in your latter part of your life, it really started in your brain when you were a
I see.
little boy. That little
Yeah.
germ was there. You know,
Yeah, in the
only
Western movies, yes, and wanting to be a cowboy, but
cowboy,
everybody
yeah.
wanted to be
But
a cowboy.
you became a
Yeah.
cowboy in many
Yes.
ways. The only thing that broke my heart in the book was the way that you and Kim said goodbye at the airport.
Well,
The note.
well, it was,
Read the book.
you know,
People must read the book.
read, yeah, you read the book, you see how much you go through. It's
It's
quite a chunk,
it's a very
and
big part of your book. Now, what I'm going to ask you, if you could just move slightly further back, because I've got a lot of white, and sometimes I'm losing a little bit of your chin, and I don't want to lose any of you.
oh, okay. I'm sorry, I was here before. Is
You
that
were here
better?
before, and then okay. Um, you have had many different lives, many different opportunities, many different friends, people that you never thought that you would meet in your life, the same as happened to me. You take chances. You see there is a world outside, and you grab that world in every shape and form.
I
And
was very lucky.
you, it's not lucky, it's you make your own luck in life. There are people who don't make luck in life. You've made it. And quite honestly, I've written a book which will only be published when I pass away because, and I don't intend dying yet, because I speak about all the showbiz people that I've worked with. Some were wonderful and some were really not so great. And they've still got families around. And it would cause me too much stress. But I came from the same sort of life as you. From The Girl from Nowhere is my book. The same as That's All I'm Saying is your book. But you have met unbelievable people, worked with so many people, worked in different fields. And the last time I saw you, believe it or not, I flew to London to see you, Jerry Springer, the opera, in 2004. And you invited me, and then my partner was with me, Shaw Taylor. We came backstage, we had a glass with you, and that was the last time I saw you. But that was a performance that I never ever thought I would see Michael Brandon from DEMPSEY and Makepeace on stage. Incredible. You made your own luck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jerry Springer was a wonderful man. I got to know him so from that, and I did get an Olivier nomination for
Yes.
that.
Well
It was
deserved.
extraordinary piece of work. I mean, Richard Thomas who wrote that was a genius. Um, it was all opera. Everything was sung, and except for me as Jerry. Um, and it was an amazing piece, so much more than the Mormons or whatever other thing. It was it was a truly amazing piece in its time. I was very privileged to do that. I identified with it, and it turned out that place where I played, pretended to ride horse, Kew Gardens, Queens. Jerry lived there. He lived there from the time he was 9 years old. After he came over on Kindersport, to England, and then his family took him from England to New York, and he lived there, and that's why our accent. I was trying to figure out where he was from, and then realized it was the same place. And at that age, that's where you form your pretty much permanent, accent. Um,
Are you very
yeah.
good with accents?
Uh, well, let's put it this way. In the top years of Dempsey and Makepeace, they called me the Broccolis about playing James Bond, and I said, "There's an accent I won't do because I would get killed trying. Bond has to be English,
Very British.
that's
Very
yeah,
British.
very British. So no, I did British accents in Dempsey and Makepeace that the crew would be hysterical over. When I did Thomas the Tank for 8 years, I did all the voices. And Thomas, we need candles for the children's party. You know, welcome to the island of Sodor. It was like that. There were like 60 different characters. But yeah, whether if it's Russian, if it's French, Italian, I can do. You work on it and you do it. You know, I did a picture with Kerry Snodgrass, who was nominated for an Academy Award, um, and with Richard Benjamin. What was that picture? Anyway, I played an Italian fishmonger on a pier in a fish stand, and so words I would throw, sono stanco, it was like, and then you talk in between, up and back in the languages. I did in France. I did 4 pictures in France. They're all French crew, and um, I was learning French for 3 months. And then the director was Guy Hamilton, who was did a lot of the Bond pictures, very British. And he said, "If you think I'm going to film separate close-ups of you speaking horrible French," he said, "they've got another thing coming. I'm not going to edit this twice because it takes you twice as long to speak in French as it does in English." So, yeah, yeah,
It's just that your
yeah.
wonderful
I'm
Glennis
going,
Barber,
Susan, ouvrez la porte, s'il vous plaît. It's like,
your
so,
wonderful Glennis Barber, who was South African, like me. I mean,
mm,
she is so British and was
oh,
so British in Dempsey and Makepeace. She was the
yes.
lady.
Well, she did, she moved to England from South Africa when she was a teenager and studied and went to all the schools and performed. She's doing a play right now. She's right actually right now she's in Norway, but visiting a friend. But she starts the week after. She'll be doing Death on the Nile. She's a
Ah,
big English director, a woman, and be touring around, and it's going to be a very beautiful production. Yeah, so we've been married now 35 years.
it's
I know.
absolutely amazing because in your youth, you had um, quite a few women in your life. And why
As
not?
you do.
And why not?
Well, I've earned it. I'm 80 now. So,
And why not? Now, your son, Alex, what does he do? Is he also in
well,
theatre and films?
no, he has no interest in that. And one of the agreements we have between us is that I keep him out. He wants his life private. He totally is into being obscure. He wants his life private. And so we've had to remove him from photographs and things and like that, and but I honor that. If
Absolutely.
that's what he wants, that's what he gets.
That you
Yeah.
respect. That's his choice in life. And now the rest of your life, what have you got? What little pearls are you working on now? What are you about to do?
Well, I am right in the midst of talks here about the audio book for That's All I'm Saying,
Okay.
which will be a phenomenon. It'd take me 4 or 5 days in a recording studio, but then I would be performing like having a conversation with you. Instead of just reading it, I'm telling you the story. I'm telling you what happened. And when my mother comes into the room and goes, "This room is disgusting. You're a pig pen." It's like it comes alive, So
When that is
we're working
ready,
on that.
when that is
So
ready,
that
do
yeah.
something for me. I want a copy, please. So whenever long it takes you, I want to go to sleep with hearing your voice and your stories in my head.
Well, yeah, okay. What I do for my wife she has a website, Ageless, with Glynis Barber, yeah. And it's a wellness thing. She knows so much about supplements and life stuff. So I do meditation um, segments for her website because I used to teach meditation in prisons here in England and in Los Angeles, New York. So I put part of that into that aspect, but I'm not going to do it. I will talk about it in the next book because it was an important piece of life that's people can get something from. Now I just do it on her website, but yeah, that'll be a good one. And yeah, then I'm going to do it's another voice thing. I'm going to voice a documentary about Jerry Goffin, who was married to Carole King and who wrote all those songs. Will You Love Me Tomorrow? A Natural Woman. The guy wrote hundreds
I'm
of
going to listen.
incredible hits. And so, yeah, his family just approved my voice for the story. So,
Michael, it has been a wonderful glass of cava with you. Thank you so much for sharing, for describing, for being. And what about we do another program when you've got time about wellness, about what you have shared, and maybe even Glynis will be next to you and we can do a twosome.
well, it's hard when she's on the road, but
Yeah,
anyway, there'll be a time we can try that.
there's a thought. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And thank you. I really appreciate the fact that you read it with such depth, the book, and you got it. And because it's hard to explain that it's not your autobiography of this I did, that I did, or a kiss and tell. It's so much
It's
I
your
don't
life.
know.
It's your life.
Yeah.
It's your life with warmth, humor, and dignity. It's got it all. And for that, I say, thank you for being my friend, even a long lost one. And I will see you again soon. And if you guys ever come to Spain, please let me know because let's have a glass of cava all together. With
You
Monique.
got an extra room?
I will give the two of you my bed. How's that?
I'm joking.
No,
Sandy,
I
it's been
am.
a pleasure.
Take care. God bless. Lots of luck. And I will see you soon. And to my viewers, I say thank you so much for watching. And I know that you are going to enjoy.
Stay well.
That's what I'm saying.
That's all I'm saying.
That's all
That's
I'm
all
saying.
I'm saying.
And I wanted to hear you say it instead of me.
That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Bye-bye. God bless.